Internet. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first Way2Indie.com Hangout. We're going to be chatting about films, filmmakers, and the film industry, but always with an eye for the independent. And what better time to have our first hangout than now? Just a few days removed from two of the most important, biggest award shows in the movie industry, the Independent Spirit Awards and the Oscars. And those are exactly our two topics today. What we're going to be talking about are those two shows, our predictions, our picks for who's going to win in the major categories for those two shows. But to start it off, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Bernard. I'm a writer at way2indie.com, and joining me is Dustin Jansick. How are you, Dustin?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well. And Ananda Dillon, who is also a writer on the site.
Hello, everyone.
Wow, we're famous, guys. We've got an audience of millions watching us right now, so let's not mess up. To kind of start things off and lubricate the conversation, let's just chat a little bit about what we've been watching lately. Ladies first, Ananda Dillon, what have you been watching?
So I've been seeing a little bit lately. I went and saw In Secret, which came out this past weekend, and which I also reviewed on the site, so you can check that out. Basically, pretty bleak. And it's the tale of Therese Requiem based on the Emile Zola novel of the same name. And Elizabeth Olsen plays Therese, who is this little orphan forced to live with her aunt and her sickly cousin, Gamil, played by Harry Potter's Tom Felton. And she's forced to marry him, and then they move to Paris, and they start a dress shop, and everything's pretty awful for poor Therese, who doesn't have any say in her own life, and she's pretty sexually frustrated. And then Gamil brings home his buddy from work, played by Oscar Isaac. So the two of them, of course, begin this crazy love affair and decide that the only way they're going to be happy is if they off her husband. And then once they get everything they want, they discover that maybe that's not so great. So it's not a real uppity movie. And it's the first time that the director has made a feature film. So it shows a little bit, but he got a really great cast, and Jessica Lange plays the aunt, and she's fantastic. But,
Jeez, you got a great cast.
yeah, amazing cast for a first-time director. But
Was there a cat in it?
I don't think so. No, that's
No
the one
cat.
thing it was
Okay.
missing was a cat. Yeah,
Oscar Isaac does
but
really well with cats.
He's hot
so-
right now.
that's
He's hot
true.
right now.
He's so hot right now, and he's so hot in
Super
this
hot.
movie. I will say that. There is it's pretty hot and heavy movie, but
Ooh.
it's also pretty depressing. So
So
I've also
it'll
recently seen the Lego movie as a result.
Oh, nice.
Needed something to bring me back up after
Perfect.
that one.
Perfect
Yeah.
balance.
But yeah, it's an alright movie. I think the cast is what's going to bring a lot of people out to see it. But in the end, it's kind of majorly Bummersville for like middle of winter right now. Nobody's going to want to see this for too long. So I don't think it's going to do so well. And I don't think it did really well in its opening weekend, actually. So, well.
Bummer.
Well, hopefully now we're going to have
Yeah.
millions going out to see it because of
Well,
our.
I'm not sure I recommend that, actually. Read my review and then decide if you really want to
You
take
know
that
what?
plunge.
You did a really good job on the review. Actually, I read it. It was a really good job.
Thank you.
Dustin, what have you been watching lately?
Well, so I rewatched Short Term 12 recently. My fiance had never seen it, and it's been a while since I had seen it. It still made me laugh, cry, and smile just as it did the first time. But the most recent film I watched last night, actually, was a film called It Felt Like Love, and that was an indie coming-of-age story about another female who is sexually frustrated, Ananda, who desperately wants to
around.
begin her, she desperately wants to begin her sex life, but is stuck playing the third wheel between her friend and her boyfriend. And it was directed also by a first-time filmmaker, and it premiered at the Sundance Film Festival last year. This kind of indie coming-of-age story is the kind of thing you would expect to see out of Sundance. But rarely are they as effective as this. This is they had great performances, even better camera work, and the story is simple, intimate, but was never heavy-handed. It didn't try to force any type of message.
Anyone we know in it?
No, it's all pretty much first timers.
Sure.
like there's no one who's had done anything else before this aside from a couple shorts. So no recognizable names, but still, I would very much recommend this. It's released. It Felt Like Love releases in New York on March 21st, I believe. So look for the review sometime during that week. So basically, a month from now, it'll be on the site. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's good. It's something that
sounds pretty indie, Dustin. It sounds pretty
yeah,
indie.
Super indie.
It sounds a little too indie, doesn't it? I'm sorry.
That's what we're all about.
I apologize. I'm sorry. I went too far with that one. But yeah. So what I watched lately, I just had a chat with Chilean filmmaker Sebastian Silva over at the San Francisco Film Society offices. Wonderful guy. It was my second time talking to him. Really kind of a interesting person to talk to. Very fascinating guy. But I watched Magic in preparation for my chat with him. It's the second of his two Michael Cera collaborations of last year, the other being Crystal Fairy, which got a theatrical release here, a small theatrical release. Magic didn't get a theatrical release, unfortunately, but I actually quite enjoyed it. I didn't hear great things about it. I wasn't over the moon, but it's a psychological kind of disturbing fuck you up movie starring Juno Temple as an American who travels to Chile to visit her cousin, played by Emily Browning, and while hanging out with her cousin's friends, she kind of goes for a trip and descends into madness, and the way Silva conveys her kind of unhinged perception of reality that kind of grows as the movie goes on is really cool. He utilizes a lot of great techniques, and really enjoyed it. Check out my chat with Sebastian on the website right now. It's up, and yeah, that's what I've been watching. So we're ready to move on into our main topics, guys.
Woohoo.
You ready for this?
Yes.
So this weekend we have two big film award shows coming up. We've got the Independent Spirit Award show coming up on Saturday, which I'm really excited for. They've got a lot of. I actually prefer the selections on their nominations for their awards, and then we've got the Oscars, of course, on Sunday with also a kind of a bigger span of nominees over there. But we're going to start with the Independent Spirit Awards, our bread and butter, independent films. Let's start with, we're going to give you guys our predictions and our preferences for each of these categories. We're going to go through the main categories of each show, and we're going to say who we think's going to win the category and who we'd prefer to win, our preference. So to start off with the Independent Spirit Awards, why don't we go with the supporting categories and start with Best Supporting Female, because it's always ladies first. We'll start with Ananda because it's always ladies first. Who have you got
I feel
for
so
your
special
preference?
today.
Yeah, you're very special. You are very special. My mother tells me special, but I'm sure you're more special than I am.
Okay.
The 5 nominees very quickly were Melanie Diaz for Fruitvale Station, Sally Hawkins for Blue Jasmine, Lupita Nyong'o for 12 Years a Slave, Yolanda Ross for Go for Sisters, and June Squibb in the wonderful Nebraska. Who's your prediction to win and your preference?
My prediction is also my preference, which is Lupita Nyong'o from 12 Years a Slave. And I think she's got, considering the content that she had to work with, she had probably one of the most difficult roles to play out of all of those characters, and she nailed it. Just nailed it. So I think she's going to get it, and I want her to.
Think it's a lock?
Crazy. I think so.
How about you, Dustin?
The other ones are all great, but yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't have Jennifer Lawrence to compete with at the Spirit Awards. She doesn't. So, and Yolanda Ross for Go for Sisters is a real head scratcher. She really has not much competition, although I think she deserves it both here and at the Oscars. So, yeah, I think it's a lock. I don't think it's a very... I don't know who would even really contend. So she's your prediction
and your preference?
Yep, I'd pick her for both, yeah. What about you?
Clean sweep. Yeah, prediction and preference. I don't think there's much of a competition here at all. I agree. Yeah. I saw all these films, and Lupita kind of stands head and shoulders above everybody else. Yeah. So let's move into Best Supporting Male. We've got Michael Fassbender for 12 Years a Slave, Will Forte for Nebraska, James Gandolfini for Enough Said, the underrated Enough Said, Jared Leto for Dallas Buyers Club, the big one, and Keith Stanfield for Short Term 12. Good for him. Great film there. Let's start with Dustin here. What's your preference and your prediction?
Same. I would say the same goes for this one as well. Jared Leto, I think, just did an amazing job. I actually preferred him after I finished the film. His performance over Matthew McConaughey's, which kind of got more of the spotlight. Yeah. But Jared Leto he really transformed his character, and I think he was really essential to the film. Just was great. So he's both my preference and my prediction. But I am also going to say I'm really, really glad that James Gandolfini got some love for, like you said, the very, very underrated Enough Said. I don't know why that one wasn't pushed as much. I believe it was Fox Searchlight. Obviously, they have 12 Years a Slave to push, but they really didn't give much for, I don't think, marketing to Enough Said. Not nearly enough. And Keith Stanfield, awesome in Short Term 12. So really glad for those other nominations, but unfortunately, I don't think they will beat Leto, in my opinion.
Yeah, same here. I agree. Jared Leto, I'm all for him, and I think he's going to get it. He was amazing in that movie.
But I think this was a really solid category. Like,
it's more competitive for sure.
Yeah, totally. Like everyone definitely deserves to be there, and all of them did a great job.
Yeah, I was actually going to give a shout out. Like, I was really glad they actually noticed Will Forte's in Nebraska, because I thought he was so great. Also, just really well cast, and obviously he's a little bit shadowed by Bruce Dern in that movie. But,
but really, I mean, it was really kind of a different role for him. I mean, coming from such a comedic background, and this is funny, and it is labeled as a comedy, but he plays a more serious role in it.
And I totally think Bruce Dern, he makes Bruce's performance better. He knows exactly how to react to Bruce's performance, and he really kind of complements that performance well. Again, it's another clean sweep though. For me, with Jared Leto being my preference and my prediction. I mean, and these other performances, especially like Keith Stanfield, Will Forte. I mean, these guys did a great job, but Leto, I think, gave one of the best performances of his career.
Right. Yeah.
I've heard different. I think some people think he's given better performances, but it's hard. It's hard to think of one better. It really, for me.
I mean, Requiem for a Dream was pretty awesome, but I don't know if it was better, but it was really good.
Yeah, so let's keep the ball rolling, guys, and go to Best Female Lead for the Independent Spirit Awards. We've got Cate Blanchett, Blue Jasmine. We'll talk about that in a bit. But Julie Delpy, Before Midnight, Gabby Hoffman, Crystal Fairy, Brie Larson, Short Term 12, Shailene Woodley, The Spectacular Now. I feel a trend coming on here. But we'll see. I don't know. Let's start with you again here, Ananda. What are your predictions and preferences?
I thought that was an interesting group of women, actually. And I think that Cate Blanchett's going to get it. And of those listed, I would prefer her to get it over all of them. Though I have to say, and we could talk more about this when we get to our Oscar predictions, but she wasn't my favorite female performance of the year. But within indie, I guess she was actually pretty awesome.
What was your favorite?
Within indie films or within?
No, just like who would you rather have seen? Or what was your favorite performance?
Well, I mean, for Spirit Awards, it would have had to be an indie film.
Oh, but you're saying when we get to the Oscars...
She's keeping it a secret.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
When we get to Oscars, we can talk about
it. Gotcha. I think I know.
She's whetting the appetite of our fans.
And me. I'm really excited, but I think I know you're going with that.
Me too.
Okay.
And I'm with you here. Cate Blanchett, both my preference and my prediction.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Julie. For how much you loved, Before Midnight.
I adore that film. It's my favorite film of that year, but if I'm just comparing the performances, Blanchett was a better performance.
Yeah, and I would agree. I want to be different, but I really can't. I mean, Kate was just really, really good, and she deserves the win. I'm really glad that Brie Larson did get a nomination, and again, a head scratcher for Gabby Hoffman getting it for for Crystal Fairy. I mean, to be fair, I haven't seen the film, but I mean.
She's pretty good.
Well,
she's pretty good.
Yeah. And I gotta say, for like kind of a comeback-ish role, because I mean, where's she been for a while? that is
Right.
pretty impressive. Like she left a mark. You're like, wow, that's Gabby Hoffman. Haven't seen you, and you went crazy, but in a good way, I guess.
But there's some
Yeah.
people that definitely deserve to be up there. I would think,
Mhm.
and especially within the indie realm, that I'm surprised she beat out. But that's, I guess,
Mhm.
neither here nor there. But yeah,
Yeah. So again, we're gonna keep it. We kept it boring there. Third category in a row where we're in complete
let's go
agreement
for 4.
across the board. We'll see though. Okay, best
Okay.
male lead. I think this is a very competitive category here. Bruce Dern, Nebraska. Chiwetel Ejiofor, 12 Years a Slave. Oscar Isaac, Inside Llewyn Davis. Michael B. Jordan, The Human Torch himself, Fruitvale Station. Matthew McConaughey, Dallas Buyers Club, and Robert Redford, All Is Lost. I think this one we might have some dissent within our numbers. So
Okay.
let's go, Dustin. Let's start with you. What do you got?
Chiwetel is who I would pick to win, and I think he'll win here. I think he'll beat out Matthew McConaughey. Slightly, I think it's a close race between the two. Honestly, in this category, like you said, it's really competitive. It has 6 nominations versus 5, like pretty much like all the rest, which is, I don't know, a bit odd, and I don't know why they're able to do that for whatever
Right.
reason. But it's super competitive, and I think it's really between those two. But yeah, I guess I would go against the grain and say that, or maybe against the grain, say Chiwetel for both who I deserve and who I think will win.
All right. I'm gonna go against that a little bit.
All
I would
right, here we
also,
go.
not that I'm fighting or anything, because I would actually choose Chiwetel as well. I thought he was fantastic and should beat out everybody, but
So that's your preference.
that's my preference. But I think Matthew McConaughey is actually going to take
All
it.
right.
He's been getting a lot of buzz lately, and
Yeah.
I think that I don't know the Spirit Awards. It seems like they're going to. I think they're going to appreciate the edgier matter. Not that it's more edgy than slavery, but like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Just that kind of more. It's more of an indie role, I'd say, than a historical narrative.
Interesting point.
So
Yeah.
I think that might win over voters for that. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong, but
Do you
Yeah.
think
kind of,
that
I
12
kind
Years
of
a
think
Slave
so.
is like too like a more too sweeping of a movie? Like
Yeah, I mean,
it's
even though
like
it's done indie-ish, kind of, it's still the content matter. I think is still so
right.
heavy that it doesn't
And
seem
I would
very
agree with
indie.
that. Like, I
Yeah.
definitely would agree with that. I just, in my opinion, I feel like this is their chance to maker, because I think basically, I mean, especially for best female lead, that's gonna. I mean, we'll get to that, but I feel like they're kind of lining themselves with the Oscars in a lot of their picks, especially and supporting male for that matter, maybe even supporting female. Basically, all of these could very much match the Oscars, and obviously they can unalign themselves in other categories. But I don't know. I feel like this is maybe one where they could say, okay, McConaughey maybe the favorite for the Oscar, but maybe we'll see a win here at the Spirit Awards to kind of differentiate themselves. But what do you think, Bernard?
So yeah, I think my prediction to win is Matthew McConaughey. I agree with everything Ananda said for why he's gonna. I think he's gonna win. But this is interesting. So it's a film that I wasn't as taken with as a lot of other people, but I think my favorite to win because of his performance, and his performance has grown on me so much as I've sat with it. Is my favorite is Bruce Dern. I think he's
Oh,
incredible
really?
in Nebraska. Yeah, I don't. I'm not in love with that movie, but I think he's just fantastic, and I think that's the stickiest performance for me. In that, I think I'll be thinking about that performance for years. I really do. That performance is pretty defining in his career. Even though he's been acting for so long, I think it's a defining role for him, and I think I'm going to be thinking about it for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did win the actor award at Cannes, so you know, you're not alone. People were taken aback by him. So
Yeah, I thought he was
Yeah, I think it's very
fantastic.
competitive. Yeah, very close category there. So let's move into. We've got 2 categories left. The big ones first. Best director. This one's very interesting. Very interesting. We've got Shane Carruth for Upstream Color, Best Director. J.C. Shandor for All Is Lost. Steve McQueen, 12 Years a Slave. No surprise there. Jeff Nichols for Mud. and Alexander Payne for Nebraska. This is an interesting category. What do you think, guys?
Well,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it is kind of interesting.
It's kind of strange, isn't it? Like some of the
It's strange that it is a little strange that Shane would get best director, but then like not best feature, because at least in the Oscars, they're very close tied, and typically when you get nominated for one, you get nominated for the other. But and the Coen brothers not getting one, I don't know, and they got nominated for best feature. It is kind of an interesting selection.
Can't really figure out the thinking behind it, to be honest. Can't figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know if they're just trying to spread the love out a little bit to some other
Probably.
people who weren't nominated. But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of interesting.
Well, Dustin, what are your
I think
what's your picks?
Mine would be Steve McQueen for 12 Years a Slave for both. I think he deserved it, and I think he will win. I think, yeah, that's mine.
yeah, same here. I think Steve McQueen's going to get it, and I would personally vote for him. Though I do want to say I thought that Nebraska was fantastic and one of Alexander Payne's better films, definitely. But he's not going to. I don't think he's going to get it.
Yeah, I think any other year, a lot of these films would do much would win awards when they're not going to this year because of 12 Years a Slave. And but I would say I predict 12 Years a Slave, Steve McQueen to win. But my favorite, I am kind of in awe of what J.C. Shandor did with All Is Lost. He swept me away with his film, and I had a strong reaction. A visceral reaction to that film, a physical reaction. I think I always tell people I shivered when I watched that movie in the theater. I just felt like it was colder than it actually was because his filmmaking was so great. But yeah, so a little bit of a change up there. Now the big boy for the Independent Spirit Awards: Best Feature, 12 Years a Slave, All Is Lost, Frances Ha, Inside Llewyn Davis, and Nebraska again. Which hasn't been any of our picks so far, except for Bruce Dern, I guess. Even though I
almost wish that movie had come out this year.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So, Ananda, what do you think? What are your picks for this category?
I think the 12 Years a Slave is going to get it, but which, if anybody read our favorites of 2013 list, they know that Frances Ha was my favorite film of last year, and I would love to see it take home something, and I hope it. I forget if it's up for anything else, but. It's totally not going to get it, but I wish it would.
How about you, Dustin?
I would say 12 Years a Slave is also going to win. I would say it deserves to win, but I also am very happy to see at least that Frances Ha is up there. I believe it is the only one that they were nominated for. They might have another editing or something. Or maybe it is the only one that they're nominated for a Spirit Award. But so I'm happy that it got nominated. I still don't know if it deserves over 12 Years a Slave, but I did love the movie. I actually I don't know. It's hard because I think I did like the movie better than 12 Years a Slave. But it's really, I mean, obviously it's really hard to say, well, which one is better, which one is more memorable, which one has
compare those two movies.
It's really difficult to say like which one deserved it, because I think 12 Years a Slave, it's maybe a more important. I mean, it's almost without an argument more important film. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better. So I don't know. I probably will have to go 12 Years a Slave with both. But just I'm very happy that Frances Ha got a nomination.
Yes, yes, and I'll say 12 Years a Slave is going to win. But just to keep things interesting, just for the sake of that, I'll say All Is Lost is my favorite. I'll say that's my favorite. Wow. I mean, just to keep things interesting. But it was. I mean, I just want to give it a little bit of a shout out because I think that was a better transportive experience than Gravity. I think it beat Gravity at its own game. I'm in the minority. I'm definitely in the minority in that sense. But it for me personally, it took me to another place more effectively. But it's not taking anything away from Gravity, because those two films I kind of treasure both of them as kind of a package. Like I'd love to see a double feature in a theater.
That would be a really good double feature.
That would be a little overwhelming.
That would be though.
I need some Xanax to get me through that double feature.
Yeah, you'd have to finish it with, I don't know, Toy Story or I don't know, something
Lego
movie or
movie.
something.
It's really good.
Kind of bring yourself
Or
back
Frozen.
down to earth.
I don't know.
No pun intended,
Yeah.
and kind of reorient yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Seriously.
that's happening this Saturday. The Independent Spirit Awards with Patton Oswalt hosting. Always funny. That
Yes.
troll-looking motherfucker. That guy looks like a troll more
I
than
can't
any other.
wait.
Oh my
Oh.
god!
And it's on TV. If you guys have cable, it's on IFC. It's at 9
IFC.
Central
Yeah.
on IFC. You have to like not pay attention to your Twitter feed or the internet during the day because it's actually like it's filmed during the day, but it actually airs at night. So
Not
a lot of
a live
people,
broadcast.
and not a live broadcast exactly. And so like I'm all like for like Stella Artois is the big sponsor every year. So I always get like a 6-pack of Stella Artois. I
Nice,
make
dude.
sure I shut off my internet connection basically or avoid it as much as I can. And,
That's so cute. You got a little ritual going over there.
Oh yeah, I've been doing it for years. It's my like I have a big Oscar party. Of course, everyone loves the Oscars. So I have like a big gathering for that. But my bread and butter
Am
is
I
the
invited?
Independent Spirit Awards. Yeah, you're invited. Both of you guys
All
are
right.
invited. Long
right.
distance.
Fly
invite.
out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds great.
Just for anybody listening, Mr. Bossman
Everyone's
Dustin
invited.
is in South Dakota, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He's hailing from, and me and Ananda are in sunny California, where we've got beautiful weather and we're basking.
It
in the
snowed
glorious
today.
sunlight.
It's still snowing out right now.
It's supposed to
And-
rain this week.
Oh, jeez. I'm not even gonna talk. I'm not gonna go there.
So let's move on. We're getting carried away with having too much fun. Let's move on to Sunday night. The Oscars, the Academy Awards, the 86th Academy Awards. This one, I think this is more competitive. Would you guys say on a whole?
Yeah. I mean, there's literally more to choose from.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Especially for Best Picture, right? I mean, they've got how many
Yeah.
do they have? Like 10,
8.
which is
I think
ridiculous.
there's a race at least. I think there's 9 for nominated this year. I think there's actually a race at the for the top director and Best Picture. It's usually between 2, and each of the 2 films that are kind of expected to win or do well have each won other different precursors up until the Oscars, and they've each kind of taken one, and so it really is like a pretty close race, I think. And whereas like the Spirit Awards, there's obviously harder to predict because you can't go off of anything that comes really before it as a true precursor.
And who's
But I think
hosting
it is
this
more
year?
competitive.
Who's hosting this
Ellen?
year?
Ellen? Is that who
Is
it
Ellen,
is?
Ellen DeGeneres?
Yeah, I believe so.
I obviously did my research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I thought, does that sound right? I don't know.
That sounds
That
right.
sounds
I believe
right.
you.
That
Okay.
sounds right.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it. Let's jump right in, starting again with Best Actress in a Supporting Role. We've got Sally Hawkins from Woody Allen's Blue Jasmine, Jennifer Lawrence with her hilarious performance in American Hustle, Lupita Nyong'o, love that name, 12 Years a Slave, Julia Roberts, August Osage County, Eat the Fish Bitch, and June Squibb. You love that, Dustin. You love that one.
That's my
that
favorite
was for
and
you.
only good quote from the whole film.
And June Squibb, the lovely June Squibb, who I had the pleasure of meeting a couple months ago for Nebraska.
nice.
She's so cute.
Yeah.
So Ananda, Best Actress in a Supporting Role. What's your prediction and your preference?
This one gets a little bit tough because they throw Jennifer Lawrence and Julia Roberts into the mix on like the Spirit Awards. It's really, really tough for me to call. I think it's like neck and neck with Lupita and Jennifer Lawrence. I'm thinking that they're going to give it to Lupita because Jennifer got one last year.
Yeah.
However, I would kind of love to see Julia Roberts take it home. She's not going to, but I thought she was fantastic
Nice.
in August Osage County. And I thought her crazy over-the-top role was like Oscar-worthy. So I don't know. I was a fan of that movie. I know not everybody was, but
I was too. Not a big fan, but I enjoyed it. Yeah.
okay.
So that's
So
Julia's
I think Lupita,
Julia's your
but
okay.
it's like neck and neck with Lupita and Jennifer Lawrence, and then Julia Roberts is my like never gonna happen, but man, wouldn't it be nice? So.
Nice.
Dustin, who you got?
Yeah, I think it's the same as the Spirit Awards for me, Lupita.
All the way.
Want her to win and think she's going to win. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna be a little different here. I think Jennifer Lawrence is gonna win again. I think
Really?
she's gonna win another one, and but I'd like Lupita to win. I'd like her to win.
Hmm.
But I think Lawrence. I mean, I can just see it. I can see myself
Yeah.
watching, and I can see. Oh, they're definitely gonna pick Lupita, and then they're gonna disappoint me, and they're gonna pick Jennifer Lawrence.
Well,
I can
Jennifer
see that
Lawrence is
happening.
super, hot right now. She's everywhere. I could just see people
Right.
like if this was like an award show that wasn't like a tuxedo type thing. I could just see like fans sitting there. Maybe at home, I could just see fans sitting there with J-Law signs and just like, yeah, I
Yeah,
can't wait. She's like, and it's hard not to like her because she seems so down to earth.
love her.
And
I love her. I love
Yeah.
her.
Oh,
So
we'd
This
be
was not her best
besties.
performance, though. This was not her best.
in my
performance.
opinion, I would agree with that too. That's main. I mean, it is
Yeah.
obviously it's a supporting role, but it isn't her best. But she
No.
everyone loves her, so she does have that going for her. She's got
Yeah.
that. So I think it is between those two, though.
Yeah, never underestimate the absurdity of the Academy Awards. Now, going on to Best Actor in a Supporting Role, we've got Barkhad Abdi for Captain Phillips, the non-professional actor who they hired as I think he was a limousine driver. Or
Yeah,
something.
Minneapolis.
In Minneapolis.
Yeah, in Minneapolis,
Very
Minnesota.
close.
That's great. Bradley Cooper, American Hustle, Michael Fassbender, 12 Years a Slave, Jonah Hill for The Wolf of Wall Street, and of course, Jared Leto for Dallas Buyers Club. Dustin, how about we start with you? What do you got?
I'm. I want to say Jonah Hill is who I want to win because I
Me
did
too.
really,
Me too.
really enjoy him in that.
Wow.
And I just love him and like anything he does. I think he's hilarious. But I'm gonna have to go with Jared Leto. Both deserved and should win.
Okay.
Or will win. So I'm gonna go with him.
Mhm.
With and my like, oh, I'm glad that he was nominated, but he'll never win. Maybe Jonah Hill. I'll go with that.
Oh yeah, new
Wishful
third category.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking category.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright.
I'll say I think Leto's gonna win, and I think he deserves to win. But just to be interesting again, I'll say I would love to see Jonah Hill win. I would love to see that on television, just for good television sake. It would just be amazing to see his fucking face as he walks up there, and Marty's face, and Leo's face.
He would have to have some lewds on him. He'd be on lewds for sure.
Yeah. What about you,
It was a
Ananda?
movie, guys. It's a movie. Well, based on real life, actually. I think that Jared Leto's gonna get it, and he's who I would want to get it. Though I wanna throw in a little hey to Michael Fassbender. He's amazing in 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
So
He is.
I'm glad he was nominated. So he's fantastic. But and Jonah Hill's great, but I don't think I'm as in love with him as you guys are. Boy crushes over here.
I wanted him to eat that dang goldfish. I don't know, like I don't know. His is a fun performance. I don't know. I'm just glad he got nominated. I think it was kind of a wild card nomination, really. I mean, he did a great job, but I'm a little surprised he got nominated, but happy nonetheless, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, he's kind of like the nerd who got invited to the jock table, right?
Yeah,
we just want to
exactly.
see him do well because it's
Yeah.
just gives us hope. All us like nerds like me,
Yeah, exactly.
who are average look like mediocre looking people who just never hang out with the cool kids. He gets to sit at that table now, so it's kind of
Yeah.
cool. Now we've got Best Actress in the leading role. Very competitive, typically very competitive, but this year it looks like could be a landslide. We'll see. Ananda, what do you think about this one? We've got Amy Adams, American Hustle, Kate Blanchett for Blue Jasmine, Sandra Bullock for Gravity, Dame Judi Dench for Philomania, I should say, and Meryl Streep, of course, for August Osage County. What do you think, Ananda? I'm interested to see what your favorite is here. Actually, I'm not sure what it'll be.
Yeah. So I think that Kate Blanchett's gonna get it. And I don't really mean to rag on Blue Jasmine. I clearly love that movie. It's just, I don't know, it wasn't like my favorite thing ever. But I kind of wish that Meryl Streep would get it.
That's
Of
what I
course.
thought.
It's just
I
so-
thought you might say that. Yeah.
I know, right? You guys know I love August Osage County, and then it's stinking Meryl Streep, but it's Meryl Streep in like this seriously amazing role. I mean,
She's a maniac.
She knocked it. Yeah, she just like
Yeah.
amazed me watching that movie. I was like, could not get over how ridiculous she was. It was, but it was like perfect. I feel like that's got to be a hard thing to play. Is like so over the top, but like not alienating. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's great, and I loved her, and I want her
Yeah,
to
her
get all of
fangs are
the
razor
Oscars,
sharp.
all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Dustin, what do you
So,
think?
Well, she's kind of like the actress that, I don't know, you love to hate. I don't know, or everyone like, like wants,
you
she's
don't
easy
have
to
to
make
hate
fun
her.
of.
You can
You
just
don't
love
have
her.
to. Yeah.
I know she's
But
been
it's-
nominated for a billion things, but she
Yeah.
deserves it. She's amazing.
She is really good. I mean, it's hard
I
to
agree,
not
yeah.
give her that. But I think Cate Blanchett was awesome, and she deserves and should win and will win more than likely. I mean, I really did like Blue Jasmine. You're not the only one who told me that, Ananda, that they liked it, but it wasn't like great, and it was no Midnight in Paris. But I really did like this Woody Allen film. I actually probably liked it a little bit more than maybe some people, I guess. I thought she was great.
Yeah, that film kind of goes up and down in my estimation. I really liked it at first, really enjoyed it. Then I thought about it and I thought, I think it kind of falls apart if it weren't for Cate Blanchett. And then
Andrew Dice Clay was really good. So was
Andrew Dice Clay was really good. I think the casting was a little jarring for me, and that's mostly due to geography. I'm from here, and no one talks like
that's
those
right.
people. Like
Yeah.
nobody sounds like those people. I mean, no one. It's kind of funny, but I'm not going to hold.
But
that
that's
against
that's like hating Fargo because you don't like the accents, though. I mean, it's just like that's sort of true,
No,
but
yeah,
not
it's-
exactly.
Don't
if you're
hold it
from
against the
either.
film at all.
Yeah.
It was funny. It made me chuckle, but I didn't think it hurt the film at all. Not in the least. But I'll say Cate Blanchett, her performance held that film up. I think she is going to win, and she deserves to
Yeah.
win. And she's my favorite. I think I'd like her to win. Basically, let's move
Okay.
on to the men, the burly, manly men. This year, vying for the best actor in a leading role. We've got Christian Bale in American Hustle, very surprising performance. Bruce Dern in Nebraska, Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street, Chiwetel Ejiofor in 12 Years a Slave, and Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club. I can never figure out how to say that one. No, seriously, Matthew
It's like
McConaughey in Dallas Buyers
McConaughey.
McConaughey, baby.
Just remember that.
All right. Ananda.
All right.
Unlike the Spirit Awards, I kind of think that all those white old men are probably going to choose Chiwetel Ejiofor, actually,
Yeah.
over Matthew McConaughey, who I think will probably get the Spirit Award. And I would probably, I don't know, it's hard for me to say who I would pick. I think I would pick Chiwetel, but I loved all of those people, every single one of them.
This
was
is a
so
great category.
This is a
They're all
really
great.
hard one.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks like, wow, Christian Bale, I don't know, he's great in everything, I guess, but he was really good in that role. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, he literally made himself sick over it. Like, but
Crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say like what my personal one is. So I'm just going to assume that it was Chiwetel, and that's who I think will get it. So. Yeah,
I think Christian Bale. This was one. I think if there was the weakest one, I would say he was probably the weakest of the category, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Leonardo DiCaprio
Well, out
kind
of
of
his
gets.
career, though, that's what I
Yeah.
think. Like out of his career, I thought that was a really great role for him. But
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I
don't
mean, it
know.
really.
I mean, the fighter.
The fighter was really good. I thought
Yeah.
he deserved the fighter, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But
And he's got what Out of the Furnace coming up anyway. So
that one won't get him anything.
you don't think so?
Just saying.
Oh,
But you should watch and tell me what you think. I did not care for it so much. He was all right in it, but I don't know. I think Leonardo DiCaprio kind of gets overlooked. What a crazy 3 hour long just freaking, I don't know. I thought he was really good and almost like almost overshadowed a little bit. I think he had a great performance, and people he's almost like Meryl Streep at this point, in the fact that like people just kind of expect that out of the roles that he's in, and I still find myself like telling people like Leonardo DiCaprio is like a great actor, and like just he has a lot of range, and
One of the best of our generation. Yeah.
yeah.
he really is. And I've been saying the same thing about Matthew McConaughey, with just the average person coming up and thinking he's just this rom-com good-looking dude who can't act or whatever. And like and Dallas Buyers Club is definitely that role to change. If your mind wasn't already made up, this will definitely change your mind on on him as an actor. I do think that he will win. So I'm the opposite of Ananda, and I think Chiwetel deserves to win. But winning the Golden Globes and some of the other stuff that McConaughey has won, I think it's close, but I think it'll go to him.
Yeah, okay. I forgot to mention Leo. I mean, he's probably getting the most like discussion, at least from everything I've heard. He's the one who's getting most talked about because of the like this. Finally, he won something. But yeah, he's great in that movie. But I don't think he's gonna.
This isn't the year. This isn't the year.
Yeah, this isn't the year.
Not yet. Hold out, Leo. You'll get it eventually.
Yeah. Bad timing.
Has he never won?
No.
Not for Best Actor, no.
No, yeah. Best Actor.
He didn't get one for Departed. Yeah, okay.
No. He's been nominated, just hasn't.
Okay. What do you think, Bernard?
McConaughey, Mr. McConaughey is going to win, but I think my favorite, the one that touched me the most, was Chiwetel Ejiofor.
You guys
it was close, though. It was so close.
I think I was also leaning towards Matthew McConaughey, but the BAFTAs really threw me off. They went for Chewie, and so that's what made me think like, well, maybe he will get it.
But yeah, that might be. But you have to remember that 12 Years a Slave is done by Steve McQueen, who's a British.
British.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean that's really about the only thing I can think of. I mean that was one major reason, but yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I think
it's a close one.
It is close. I don't think it's a lock. And if you would have asked me maybe 3 months ago, I would have probably said Chiwetel is a lock for it. There's no one else that will probably be in the running or anything. But Matthew McConaughey has really surged for what
pulled it out of the box, pulled it out of the hat.
Yeah, you guys might have convinced me. I might be on board with Team Matthew McConaughey now.
Well, it's a close race there.
I think it's slightly linked towards him. It is close,
Yeah, very, but it'll be by a hair, whoever picks up the Oscar there. But let's move on to into the home stretch. The last two categories we're going to discuss here. Best Directing. The Oscar for Best Directing, we've got David O. Russell for American Hustle, Alfonso Cuarón for Gravity. First time we're talking about him in this discussion, which is kind of surprising. Alexander Payne for Nebraska, Steve McQueen, The Man, for 12 Years a Slave, and Marty Scorsese for The Wolf of Wall Street. This one is a toss-up for me. It's hard for me to pin down who I think is going to win, but how about maybe it's not so close for you guys. What do you think, Dustin?
This year reminds me a lot of last year, where you have... I think it's going to come down between Alfonso Cuarón for Gravity and Steve McQueen for 12 Years a Slave. And I say it reminds me a lot of last year is because, for a couple reasons. First of all, you have Gravity, which is just like this visual, technical marvel. And last year, Life of Pi won, Ang Lee won for Life of Pi, which was also this sort of this visual sort of masterpiece, I guess, if you want to say that. But it didn't necessarily win Best Picture, and that's the next category. So I think Best Director, I think Gravity or Alfonso will win. I would pick, if I had to, Steve McQueen, personally.
Yeah.
Ananda, what are your thoughts on that?
I actually think that Alfonso will get it, and I think I'd actually choose him to get it. Maybe just because... Actually,
I'm sorry. I would agree. I changed my mind. I think Alfonso should and deserves to win.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Way to go. Yeah. Now you're on
board. There's a split. There was like 5 seconds there where something.
Well, I was thinking of the Spirit Awards, and Alfonso he deserves to win with this. Definitely, he deserves Best Director.
Yeah, I think actually in this category, pretty much everyone's deserving. Maybe not Mr. Russell, but even him could win on a some other year where there wasn't as stiff a competition. Yeah, like I'll say Gravity for both. I think that's kind of a monument in film for the past,
Yeah.
even though I preferred All Is Lost, I think Gravity is more important to the conversation of cinema nowadays because it reached more people. So yeah, I think it's remarkable what he did with that film and transporting you into one of the scariest, most terrifying situations I've ever seen in a movie. They got me kind of squirming in my seat the whole way
Mhm.
through. So okay, so we're back again to being in complete agreement. We haven't been here in a while.
That's
But
true.
that leads us into the bloated Best Picture category with 9 nominations, a whopping 9 nominations. Which when did they start doing this shit? Like 5 years ago, 6 years
No,
ago,
2 years
No, it's
ago.
like 2 years
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, 2 years ago. 9 nominations. I'll go through them quickly. American Hustle, Captain Phillips, Dallas Buyers Club, Gravity, Her, Nebraska, Philomania, 12 Years a Slave, and The Wolf of Wall Street. This one's pretty close as well. A lot of good films going on up in here. Ananda,
Oh,
we'll let
man.
you have the first word. This one's close.
This one is crazy. Um,
Yeah.
I would choose like 5 of those movies if I could.
Right?
It's a
Right?
good year.
It's really hard. I it's okay, so I can't tell if it's like 12 Years a Slave for sure, or if Gravity might actually kind of make an impact. You guys are probably like, no, it's the other ones, but um, that's the two that I think are most up to grab it. And I would personally, I love 12 Years a Slave, but I kind of want to see Gravity get it. Like Brown was amazing, like did some really amazing stuff in that movie. And even though the writer in me is like, this was not the best well-written movie
Yeah.
ever, and not
Yeah.
even like the best performed, but because film is a visual medium, and if that's what we're
Amen.
using to like as
Amen.
criteria and choosing, like you cannot beat the visuals of
It's
Gravity. It just
undeniable. It's
can't.
undeniable.
So that is my argument for why I would choose Gravity and why I'm kind of rooting for it, even though I don't know. I wouldn't. I'm glad I'm not putting money on any of these things this year. That's all. It's hard.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Bernard?
Well, you know what I'll say is there are a lot of great films this year. I actually really like Philomena. That one grew in my estimation after I saw
Oh
it.
man, I watched that. Thought it was so boring.
Yeah, yeah. I thought I didn't like it that much at first, but as the message, I think the message of that film just really stuck with me and kind of empowering actually. But regardless, it's not my pick. I think
Okay.
I always thought when I started studying film and the history of film, I always yearned to be able to be one of the first people to see that first film. I think that the Lumieres did with the train. Back
Yeah.
one of the first films that ever was, where it was a train pulling into a station, and the audience got so terrified that they jumped out of their seats and left and ran out of the theater. I think, oh man, it would have been incredible to be one of those first people. And I think Gravity is probably the closest I'll ever come in my lifetime to experiencing something like that. If cinema is magic and it's an illusion that kind of fools you into believing something's actually happening, Gravity accomplishes that better than any other film this year.
Totally.
Quaron should be commended for that. It is a magical film that I think deserves all the accolades it receives. I think it's my favorite to win, and I think it's going to win.
Nice. All
Um,
right.
so I would say if it was up to me picking it, my pick would be Her. I think that has visuals not on the same levels of Gravity, obviously, but I think I think in a more maybe I come from it from a more technologically standpoint. But I love the visuals in that, and I love the technology, and I loved how it was a science fiction film, maybe, but it wasn't really all that science fiction-y. I mean, it's very possible in the next 10 years, 15 maybe, that this could happen. And I think it was also just a really classic love story in that as well. So Her was my favorite film that I think would be my favorite to win.
Barely, it was barely not my favorite. Barely, like by
Barely,
a hair.
yeah.
By a hair, yeah.
Yeah, if we're talking movies I'm probably going to put in later and watch from time to time, I'll watch
Sure.
Her. Gravity,
Yeah.
I probably won't put in all the time, and
Yeah.
just
It's a
for
theater
fun.
movie. It's a theater.
Totally.
It
movie.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell people too, like, oh, when people are asking me, should I see this? I'm like, yes, see it in a theater. I mean, see it at home if you have a big enough screen, but I mean,
And good enough
almost
speakers.
skip it. You almost should just almost skip it if you can't see it in the theater. If you're
It'll
going
be
to
a
rewatch
disappointment.
it, that's okay if you can rewatch it at home. But if you're going to see it for the first time, you almost have to see this in a theater.
That's what I told everyone too.
Yeah. And so her would be my personal pick, but I think it's down to Gravity and 12 Years a Slave. There's no question. And I think.
Oh, and
with
sorry to
Karan-
cut you off, Dustin.
Mhm.
Sorry to cut you off, but really quickly, I want to note that Gravity is the first 3D movie to be nominated for Best Picture.
What?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Wait, wasn't
Well, wait,
Avatar up?
Hugo. Didn't Hugo win?
Mm,
Am I completely wrong?
I
Did I
don't
hear
know.
completely wrong? I think I'm
The first film
completely
to be
wrong. I think you're right.
nominated?
Or
Yeah,
it'll
'cause
be
I
the
think-
first film to win. It'll be the first
Sure.
film to win.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was
That's
gonna
what it
say.
was. That's what it was. If it won,
Yeah.
it'll be the first
Okay.
film to win. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
There
not a
you go.
complete idiot. Go on, Dustin. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I had to think about that. I was like, maybe it was. No, Hugo was nominated. I didn't think it won. But,
And Avatar.
And Avatar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a big one.
Well, like I said, Best Director and Best Picture are very closely tied. There's like something like 70%, 73%, I think, actually. I recently did it because I'm
Oh,
doing
wow.
the Best Director
The feature.
prediction that's coming on the site probably Wednesday or so. And so I looked it up. Yeah, 73% of the time, the person who wins Best Director also wins Best Picture. It's very closely linked. And it kind of makes sense. If you're the Best Director, you're probably going to be the best film. Not always the case, and even last year it wasn't the case. And I kind of brought this up in the last discussion with Best Director category. But Life of Pi, Ang Lee was able to win last year with his technical visual marvel, but lost to the historical drama of Argo. And I think this year is very close, very similar. You have Gravity, which is this visual masterpiece that I think will win Best Director, but I think it'll lose to the historical drama of 12 Years a Slave that the Academy loves. And also, I mean, Gravity is going to win Best Cinematography. It's going to win Best Visual Effects. It's going to win Best Sound Mixing and Editing. It's going to win, probably, in my opinion, Best Director. I think it'll clean up almost all the awards. I think this is the chance to sort of, other than Lupita for Best Supporting Female, I think this is their 12 Years Slave's chance of winning something else. So I think it'll win Best Picture, but it's really a very close race between the two.
I can't say I'd be sad if it did. It's
Me neither.
such a great movie.
Yeah, like, and if Gravity won, I wouldn't be sad if it if it won. So like,
So many great
I can't.
films. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're lucky.
We're
lucky to be movie fans, right? Cinephiles.
yeah, because there's some years where like there's close between two. A lot of years it is, and then it's just like there's that one that you want to win, and one that you'd be disappointed if it won, but you're like it's probably going to be that other one. And but this year, like, if it's 12 Years or Gravity, it seems like we all will be okay with that. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Really strong year for films, in my opinion, especially the big budget ones. I think they really pulled through this year and kind of delivered on their promise, which is not always the case. Now, really quickly, let's end with comparing the two shows and their nominees. What do you guys think about the choices and the differences in the nominees for both shows?
Well, I think as I love the Spirit Awards, and I think that it's definitely my favorite of the two to watch. I think it's the most interesting. It gives a chance, obviously, a shout out to independent films, which is what Way Too Indie is all about. But it's kind of almost unfortunate because at least in the Oscars, there's that race between Gravity and 12 Years a Slave, and it's kind of almost unfortunate this year. There's not quite that race at the Spirit Awards. It's pretty much 12 Years a Slave probably going to dominate at least some of the major awards. So I kind of wish there was a little bit more competition, at least in the award show, like there, like because they're to be part of the Spirit Awards, your film has to be under $20 million, their total budget. And I almost wish that 12 Years a Slave was like 21 million or something, because it's almost just going to dominate the rest of the field. And there's a lot of good stuff. Frances Ha, Inside Llewyn Davis, which didn't get much Oscar love. Nebraska.
Shouts to Greta Gerwig, by the way. Love you, baby.
Yeah, and
she got nothing.
She got a Golden Globe nomination, but couldn't get anything for the Spirit Awards, which is a shame, or the Oscars. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, that's right. She got a TV show.
That's right. She did.
That's not too bad.
Not too shabby.
Good. I agree. The competition is starting to get a little less balanced, especially as it's getting cheaper to make movies. And so I think maybe they need to start setting the bar a little lower for what indie means.
Yes.
What with all of the digital and, the new age of digital. But, what I like about the Spirit Awards is that, especially as I've been researching because of we've got a feature coming out about our favorite Spirit Award winners of the past. Look for that this week. But I like that when I was looking through some of the people who've been nominated in the past, just like no names like that now are really big, and it's kind of a predictor for like future Oscar awards. And
right.
So now some of these people that we were going through saying, who is so and so and what movie was that? I think these are the people to keep an eye on because they might make it into the Oscars someday for doing something great. So
absolutely.
So I still really get a lot out of it because it's really fun to keep an eye on who's gonna be making it big someday. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And some of those films that we're talking about, they do have an award actually for the best feature made for under $500,000, $500,000.
Oh,
and that's the John Cassavetes Award. And there's some really good films actually. Crystal Fairy is up for in that category that we were just talking about. And then Computer Chess, Museum Hours, Pit Stop, which I've never heard of, and This Is Martin Bonner. I've seen 3 out of the 4 or 5, and those are all great films, the ones I've seen. So they do have a category for those really, really small ones, really, really small, $500,000. But so there is still a category for that, but I wish there was, a little more competition in the main categories.
Yeah. Museum Hours, I thought was incredible. Jim Cohen's film. I thought that was really kind of an idiosyncratic, really singular film this year. That I don't think it looks or feels like any other film. I think people should go watch that. All you millions watching.
I think, and Computer Chess too. People need to see that.
And Computer Chess, totally.
It's such a fun,
and that's
weird comedy.
Available to stream. If anyone's listening to this, please go out and stream Computer Chess.
Yes.
I think I think the Independent Spirit Awards are kind of, some of their choices are really strange this year. Of course, the big one
like
was
Gopher
Greta Gerwig.
Sisters.
Gopher Sisters,
so
which a film which I reviewed that for the site. Go check out my review for Gopher Sisters. It's John Sayles, I believe, directed that one, and
yeah, it sounds right. It's just
that
kind
was
of
a
like
piece of caca. That was a piece of caca.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite, and even there's so many other people that could have gotten nominated, and that was a little bit of a shocker. I agree. Some of those picks, I'm just like, really? That's an interesting. Who do they please? Who got on the right, foot of the voters or whatever.
And then Shane Carruth for Best Director, but not getting Best Feature. There were a lot of kind of wobbly choices here that I wasn't really jiving with. But the Oscars, actually, I'm pretty happy. I think it's mostly due to the quality of big budget films that came out this year. We're pretty high.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty satisfied with the categories for the Oscars. Pretty much all of them. I'll be happy with whoever wins in those categories. But for the Spirit Awards, some of them are a little shaky for me.
Yeah.
I think they missed an opportunity to. They should have championed Greta Gerwig. They should have championed her performance. You know what I mean? Like, it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. But yeah, no, I agree, and I'm glad that the Oscars, like you said, there was just some pretty good competition there, and a lot of people were thinking that Saving Mr. Banks was going to be up there and be the 10th nominee, and I'm really glad it wasn't. Like, they really cut a lot of fat out. And there was some really good films in that bunch. Captain Phillips, which we didn't really talk a lot on this hangout, but that's a fun film. I mean, not fun, but it's an action film that's really good to watch. I don't know. So there's a lot of good stuff for the Oscars this year. So I'm surprised. They've surprised me more than the Spirit Awards this year, and usually it's kind of the other way around.
Totally. I totally agree. Now we've got these 2 award shows coming up this weekend. We're very excited for it over at Way Too Indie. Any closing thoughts from either of you guys about our discussion here?
Good TV on this weekend.
I'm excited. I'm
It's gonna
super
be
excited
good.
for these.
If you're
for
into
these
awards show
award shows.
parties, it's a party weekend too.
Exactly.
It is a
I know
party
I will
weekend.
be.
Yeah, so check out waytoindie.com. We've got pieces on many, if not all, of the films mentioned in these categories. We've got a series of our Oscar predictions made by Mr. Jansick and another writer, CJ Prince, a great writer on waytoindie.com. Thank you guys, whoever's listening to this, sincerely, thank you for joining us. This has been our first Way Too Indie Hangout. I've had a blast. And we
Yeah.
look forward to talking to you guys, our readers, in the future. Let us know if you think we're idiots and we picked the wrong, if you disagreed with our picks. See you guys soon. Take care.
Bye.
Hi, ready?